Welcome everybody to the 14th Health Teaching Workshop of the Kesh Foundation. And today we're going to do mostly a review of the previous workshop material, and questions will be answered by Mr. Kesh on things that have been brought up in the previous sessions. And we may or may not hear from Elia during the workshop. Dr. Elia Kostova, who usually is hosting, she's busy on the road right now. So let's go through to Mr. Kesh at the Spaceship Institute and see what he has to say today regarding the health sector. Mr. Kesh, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are as usual. This is the final health workshop of 2014, and we start fresh on the third week of January 2015. What we thought Dr. Elia will not be here today because she's gone back home for the holidays, is that we answer or try to open up more in depth any subjects about the health section which anybody might have. So it's more trying to, bring some more information into, if it's possible, trying to explain and clarify some points. There is nothing new which we can add except answering questions till we see, or maybe during the answering questions we might get enlightened with other information. Is there any questions, or are there any questions that we can answer?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Kesh. This is Kevan Davani. Mr. Kesh, I told 3 of my clients and their parents, the mothers, to come online and join us on the live stream and Skype session because I told them it doesn't cost them anything to ask questions. One of the mothers called me today and started insulting me, you, all the knowledge seekers, and everybody who has to do with this science and technology. So I think a while ago I would have been upset and mad, but now I'm trying to follow your words or implement your words and bless their souls with a lot of peace and hopefully reason and understanding. There is one client of mine who has a so-called G syndrome. I'm not a medical doctor or anything. Does that say anything to you, G syndrome?
No.
Is it something neurological? I thought, okay.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of it, so I cannot make a comment on what I don't know.
All right.
Why did she insult you? That's interesting.
Yeah, she started insulting me because she did some, I don't know what kind of homework she did. She didn't research it at all. She said she sent, I sent a link, with all the diseases, with the list of diseases and everything to her. And she started insulting and said, this is totally unserious, not scientific, and blah, blah. And I said, I feel like hundreds of years ago, probably would have been burned. They would have burned me on the fire if I said anything contrary to the doctrine. So that's the situation for now.
What was the disease you called?
G syndrome. I think it's a neurological disorder, but I'm not sure. But no problem. I wanted to ask you about another case. He sits in a wheelchair. But that you would need probably, most probably, a very precise description of the, of the disease or the dysfunction, right? To make a sort of or give your opinion or make an assessment on how to reprocess the body, the physicality.
What do you mean in that sense?
Like if someone is in a wheelchair and it has sort of a also neurological disorder, what do you call it when the muscles also, that's the problem. I don't know the medical terms for that, but
Atrophy of the muscles?
Yeah, thank you. That's it. Yeah.
You got to see these cases because
Yeah.
in some cases, what we have realized with our technology at this moment, one of the problem is once you are in a wheelchair trying to move people, it becomes very difficult because we understand the process, but strengthening the muscle tissues or the fibers is extremely difficult. We have tried different approaches in the past 4 or 5 years. There is one approach which works. I've seen people coming off the wheelchair, but I stopped the process due to other factors, which I thought it can make it much easier. But it seems our original approach in activating legs and feet which have not moved or do not move for some time is possible. We have achieved it, but now trying to we thought we developed in the right direction, but it seems that we have moved away from what we could achieve before. But we had to test to see if we can break into the new ground with this. If
Mr. Kesh, at one point you talked about having a reactor at the head and at the feet of a person that had a problem like that, I believe, and that would sort of align the reactors of the body, you might say, like we've learned in the previous health workshops from yourself and Elia on the orientation between, for example, the brain, the lungs, the heart, and so on, different organs form these reactor configurations. It would make sense that aligning the body between the head and the feet with maybe a greater field or a similar field would help orientate those reactors within the body. Does that make sense or no?
we used to, we still do, we used to make helmets and shoes and different body parts to activate, and it works. But we took the technology one step further to see if we can achieve it without the shoes and without the helmet. In a couple of cases we had success, but overall compared to when we use the system is not really comparable. Because it looks that you have to activate locally everything that that the system can work and be able to move legs and arms. We've seen the change with this is like MS. There are videos on the internet somewhere, and we've seen the improvement with ILS using these pieces. But a lot of the development goes back into the nano-GaNs technology, how to reach and how to activate. But we got to see where we're going to go in the coming months and years. But physically, you can get a man walking. We've done it so many times. Even the ones they said is impossible. But we came out in a different direction in the past few months to see if we can activate the movements through a simpler system. And it seems that we haven't got it right yet. But there are points you can do. In some cases, you can achieve more movement, but it's not as fluent, as easy as it was before.
Would the cups of life be useful in that instance?
No.
No?
These are cups of life are different thing. Cups of life have.
I'm surprised you said no. I'm surprised you said no right away. Could you elaborate a little bit on that? That's interesting.
Put it this way, we've done a lot of tests, and I know the parameters of the work. In the long run, the answer will be no. In the short run, we can say we can try, but I know in the long run it will be no, because I know the working of cups of life. If you wish, and your wish is strong enough, you can move, but depends what you wish. The emotional part has more say than the physical part. Unless it's a physical damage. If it's like an amputation, or if it's a rupture, breaking, and that kind of thing, you don't have much say. But in other cases, yes, you might have a say in it. But it's to be seen.
In any case, you don't really want to be making health claims as such for some of the things that you experiment with, because it's
No, there is
for
no health claim. We don't.
it's space technology that is the purpose for all this, not for being in competition for pharmaceutical companies and that sort of thing. Is that true?
No, it's just finding a solution that is workable. If you listen to previous talks or what I just said, we are not successful in every trial, and when we are not, we look for why and how and what's not understood. And where we are successful, when we've seen a very good ratio of success, we release the technology immediately now. In January, systems will be offered for fibromyalgia directly, because we have found a solution to this problem, or partially, most of it, but we'll find out who is and who is not, more or less, fibromyalgia. Clinical fatigue and fibromyalgia. As of January, the systems are available. You can purchase and do it at home. The success rate is very, very high, and the ones which will do not succeed, or people will not succeed, is because the attention deficiency is so high that they'll take the unit, but it's just for the sake of doing it and not really doing it. But still the system will do its job. The other system which we most probably release on a large scale next year will be the cancer units, double pack cancer units, at the rate which can be tested, and people can test it themselves. What has happened now, I was just talking before I come online with our guys in China, and we try to bring things down to a level that is affordable by everyone, at the same time can give a very high good results. Even certain diseases we can release systems for early next year, that so we can even say what's the percentage of the probability of improvement, and then people can decide if they want to try it, and if they'll be kind enough to respond back to us what they have achieved. One of the things which we very, very narrowly guide the foundation through is we will tackle illnesses which the world of medicine has had no answer for. So we keep away from the competition with the pharmaceuticals. At least this will be our policy for the foreseeable future for next year. There are a number of diseases that pharmaceuticals and the health sections have no answer for, but we have found a solution for it. So those will be released. In a way, at the same time, we release what creates credibility for the technology too. Any other question?
Could we speak about pain, Mr. Kesh, and the different forms of pain, or are they all the same?
To me, there are different type of pain, but depends how and what you call pain. What would you like to talk about pain?
Well, the different forms physically that we feel, as in terms of we cut ourselves, there's a pain in that area, or we have back problems and there's a pain in that area, or we have a headache, pain in that area. The different forms are to do with the different structures, but could you speak about why they all feel as pain?
Painful. Why do they feel painful? In so many ways, you have to go for, or the way I look at it, to look for the source of and the reason for it. If you bang your head against the wall, so you suffer from pain, you cannot do anything about it. But a lot of pains are self-inflicted, and in a way, it is to show I'm suffering, but nobody notices. And it's not for the others, it's literally for yourself. These kind of pains, we see it in the older age in the different kind of diseases. What this means is that let's take the case of fibromyalgia. In case of fibromyalgia pain, you have pain everywhere in your body. The back, the joints, the legs, the hip, the upper front of the chest, huge lack of energy. But if you touch these people, they are so even touch sensitive, most of them, which means if you put pressure on their arms, they will jump, they will cry, they say it's painful. These kind of pains are due to the circumstances which the body has been positioned or conditioned through psychological situations. But what happens is that I don't want to show it, but I self-inflict the pain to myself for me to remember what I've done wrong. In a way, you carry a pin and you continuously pin yourself, but they do it internally. Or I keep this, you say I keep a marker that I remember I never do this again. People with the fibromyalgia have that kind of marker for themselves. But it goes to the point that the pain becomes so real that it becomes storable. It literally holds. And if you get a cut, you see the wound healing. And that healing process, and watching it being healed, is psychologically tells you you're superior, you can survive anything. If you cut your finger, you might bleed, you have a pain, but that process of seeing it healed and peeling off the last piece is a psychological course of actions of you confirming to yourself, I'm strong enough, I can take it, I'll survive. But pains with the fibromyalgia is, let's say in the case of a child being abused in any form, physically, sexually or psychologically, he cannot say anything, but to himself he says, it was my fault, because the abuser always convinces the abused that it's your fault. If I rape you because you want it, you want me to rape you, you want me to insult you because you like it, if you want me to hit you because you want it. So being a child, you accept this, but you know it's wrong. So in a way you put a pin in yourself that, this wasn't my fault, but I got hit for it. So you see, the arm will go that way. You have a pain in the arm. Sexual abuse, you see pains within the internal section of the leg. As I explained before, we have had a sexual abuse case where the lady had 24 operations. And it's just that she wants to get rid of the leg because the leg was supposed to be closed, that, she couldn't be raped on a frequent basis. So she sees the failure as a failure of her leg, not keeping it set closed. So at the older age, she wants to get rid of it. So she, wherever goes for operations, it always hurts. So doctors trying to find one solution after another. But in fact, the first doctor, before he does the surgery, should have asked one question: why and how? And is this the reason? We see upper arm pain with a lot of women, especially on the right hand side. This is all to do with the sexual misuse and abuse. You have to understand where the pain comes from and what is the root of it. Then when you can explain to the adult that what you suffered in childhood wasn't your fault, you're innocent, and then they have to accept that it wasn't their fault. It's not just understanding it. Then you find out they walk away with no pain, because then they allow the pain which was actually made physical not to be there, because they've sorted it out. They don't need to carry a pin. Psychological pains are one of the easiest to solve, but one of the hardest to accept, because what it does, especially like fibromyalgia, in trying to claim you have a pain, you actually lose a lot of energy. That's why fibromyalgia people are tired, because each point where it hurts is a physical pain. The body has to make facilities to cover the pain, so it uses energy for it. So when you have what I call 200 points of pain, let's say 1 calorie each or 5 calories each a day to keep that psychological pain under control, that's 1,000 calories. So out of 1,500, 1,800 calorie food consumption, you only got 600 to use, which is just about enough to walk and just do a little bit. That's why fibromyalgia people cannot walk. They're always tired. And we see them after a few months, they start a natural process. They work more than any other time, and there is no pain, because they understand psychologically this wasn't their fault. They were subjected to it. And then you understand these are psychological pains, and these can be helped quite a lot. We had a good training regarding the psychological pain and abuse in the course of our work in Belgium, because in the Belgian culture, sexual abuse is a norm. According to the statistics by the police, there's an institute there's an organization in center border between Flemish and the French side of the what do you call it, Belgium. And in this city there is an organization, there is a woman who's responsible for child abuse, and we came across, I gave a couple of lectures in the center, strange enough, according to the statistics by the police, 28% of the children in Belgium get sexually abused within the family, which is horrendous. And then they did a hidden survey about 3-4 years ago in Belgium, where they took blood tests from the parents and the child. For whatever reason, they explained they needed it. And it shows about between 30 to 33% of the children brought up in a family are not from the father which brings them up. Then you see when the father finds that the child is not his, so he abuses it, because I've got nothing to do with it. Then you see the root of the problem. And these children, when they grow up, because of the abuse, mostly sexual abuse, they come up with all these pains and sufferings. And then because when they grow up after age of 30, 35, we see a lot of fibromyalgia, is because they have their children, and then they see they don't do these things to the children what was done to them in the young, when they were young. And this injustice cannot find position. and then all the sufferings of the childhood manifest itself as pain. This is the structure of the fibromyalgia. Most of the fibromyalgia cases we see in latter part, when the men, and it's usually with the women, when they grow up and they see they were not, they don't do that abuse to their children, why they've been abused, and the brain gets so busy with this abuse, why? Then it takes a lot of energy and all the pains which comes with it to justify what they did to them. We understand the full process of psychological pain in that respect. It's just that if you move this, the center is in Ronse, the city called Ronse in Belgium, and the center is there. I've given talk. And what this lady who has been working in this position, she explained to me and one of the Keshe Foundation supporters, because he took me to her house, is they see a lot of children abuse by the consent of the mother. In a way, the daughter takes place of the mother in the marriage relationship, and she sees abuse, or the mothers who sell their children, or they share it with their family. We've seen this in the village we lived in Belgium, and it's accepted. But this child who gets abused now, in 30 years, 40 years, 20 odd years later on, becomes a mother. And then she starts asking the question, why I look after my children so like a gold, and why I was abused? And then this question takes a lot of energy, it takes over the life, and then it shows itself in different ways. We have cases, what Luciana offered us yesterday, to bring the technology, whatever we have researchers into data, we will do, because I think it's very well known, it has to be known. The child abuse is part of the culture. Sexual child abuse is part of the culture. To me, if it was left to me, I banned any Belgian crossing any borders, because they come to our other countries and carry on with the same abuse with other children. Internationally, there has to be a decision on this. They come on a holiday, they abuse other children in holiday camps. There should be a total ban unless they're psychologically proven and there is no criminal record, and they are good at cleaning it up. Then you look at the structure of the social structure, and in the structure of the country. When we don't like a member of the family who does odd things which is not acceptable, we put him aside. Then you have to see why this nation has been, this nation with this behavior has been pushed to the edges of the continent. Because most probably it has never been acceptable, so it's been rejected, they've been put on the edge. I had a good, maybe misfortune to live in Belgium, but in the process of the research, we have come to understand how a lot of pains are created. Psychological pain, like abuse, physical or psychological, you see physical abuse in Italy. Physical abuse of children and the behavior of the children we see in Italy. Here there is not a sexual abuse. Here is a huge physical abuse, but with the new orders of child protection, the abuses are taking place in the behind closed doors. And now that we live here, we are open to it. We see it quite often. Children are used as a battle point. And they come out of the room as nothing happened, but you can hear the hit of the flesh when the parents punish them. And it's very normal. These children grow up, and then we see pain. How pain comes and what it is. Not every nation is clean. We cannot say it's only one or whatever. But when we speak about psychological pain, and then converting itself to physical pain, I had the misfortune of seeing a huge amount of these in Belgium. during the process of the what do you call it, of the research. I know the nurse who was helping us set up the center was appointed by the police. That's why she wanted to know if we can help these children with these pains. One of the Keshe Foundation members in Belgium, who he took me to this lady because she asked. And abuse goes again from the mothers to the sons, the same way sexual abuse exists as well in Belgium. It's not just Belgium, but there we had the opportunity to see, but the police knows 28% officially is very high, unofficially most probably runs about 50%. And we have a lady who's written her life story because I could not get her sorted with her fibromyalgia. And she wrote, she's written her story, how she's got to this point, and she gave it to us to read it. She wants it to be published. And when she realized that it wasn't her fault, now she lives near normal life. I used to give talks in her house because she said it has to be known by the other. And 95% of people in all the meetings she organized were women, and they were all abused. So we got to understand the source of the pain. If the pain is due to cancer, as I always say, in cancer, nobody dies of a cancer lump. Nobody dies of the cancer. The death with cancer comes from the lack of energy for other organs of the body to support, because the cancer takes most of the energy. So you literally die out of lack of energy. And these processes create pains. So if you can understand how the pain is created, how the cancer is initiated through the psychological pain usually, then you can go back into it and sort it out. Depends what the brain has emitted to do it. Amputation pain, we know, like a phantom pain you call it. We have developed a technology which we can bypass the phantom pain. We know it, it's been tested. So what you do, you allow at a point, this has to be done at early stages of the amputation, very early stages. You just place a system in front of the amputated position where the gravitational magnetic field information which comes through the neurosystem to the point of the cut, due to a proximity of this unit to the point of cut, gets transmitted out of the body. So it's not that the high charges which come in and they have nowhere to go, and then they release themselves and you feel it as a pain. The phantom pains are the informations which come, but they have nowhere to go and they can't go back up the neural system. So they get charged up and they get released, and that release is like an electric shock. So we call it a phantom pain. These pains now we have the technology to release. If it's handled at the earliest stages, and then the body learns how to get rid of them, they can be sorted. The knowledge is, we've done it, we know how to do it. There are other kind of pains which you have to go into detail how they come. But majority of the pains in the body of the man is psychological. Any questions? Or do you want to expand on it?
No, that was really good. Thank you very much for that.
I know Vince probably would like to hear a little more about the actual construction of a pain patch, in terms of, there have been some people experimenting with using a form of nano-coated plastic. I'm wondering if that might, if you might expand on that a little, or comment. Is that useful?
From the first week of January or second week of January, the Keshe Foundation on the commercial side will market what we call pain pads. This was the decision of Dr. Elia to market it because she used it and Arman used it, and they've seen the effectiveness of it. And she says, for example, there are some things in the market which do these kind of things, and they cost around 100, 120 euro for a patch or a system, and doesn't work with everything. We have a very simple system which I've developed it, and it's been developed for us, and then now we found out in recent past it can be done much easier. And it's actually the people who helped us to get it there, they buy it off the shelf apparently. So we have gone into details of development and doing it. And the paint pads will be marketed by the foundation. It's about 30-35 centimeter by 60 centimeter, and they'll be marketed about $15. This or $19 depends what we decide in the coming few days because of the packaging and how it's going to be protected. So what you do, you put these pads create a gravitational magnetic field around the paint. In a way you transmit the fields which are part of the pain in and back into as a normality to the muscle tissue. And within 2-3 hours you see the relief. Sometimes you see instant relief. It's been used for like a leg cramps, ladies who get leg cramps during their period. Their monthly cycle, some of them they get, they just put it on within instantly, they see the release. We have used this extensively for different applications, and they are very, very, very effective, extremely effective, especially like back pain. What happens, back pains, some muscle pains, like when you lift something, it creates acid within the tissues, and it creates, the pain comes actually from the separation and the chemicals which are created between the fibers. So what you do, you create a condition that the fibers can tolerate or allow for the acid to find and be removed. It's not magic, but it works, and I have used it for nearly 10-15 years in the process, and it's very effective. So you don't solve the problem with these pads. If it's something chronic, you have to see it to it. But if it is like a muscle pain or a joint pain, it immediately reacts. And what you do, you just transfer plasmatic magnetic fields in and out of the position, and then it matches to the neurosystem, and you don't feel the pain. Nanomaterial pain pads depends again on what nanomaterial you use, and then what nanolayer it is, and you have to be very careful with it. I've looked at it. It's like if you have a CO2, when you use a copper and a zinc, or you use a copper and copper, then you have a copper oxide. Now in your neurosystem there is a copper nanolayer, and then you use a nanocopper layer. You can start developing elements within the fibers. It might work on some, but it might work in one certain positions. So that knowledge has to be developed, because now we understand the position of nanomaterials, as you've done with your plates, and then you have a liquid, you have water, you have blood in your muscle tissues. There's a lot of things to consider before you can market those kind of things. These are specifically non-intrusive systems which they work. We reckon they'll be good for about 30-50% of the pains, but not for all pains. It'll be going on the website within the next week or two. This was the decision which Dr. Elia, she wanted it to be marketed because she uses it for her patients, and at $15 or $20 is affordable than $120, 120 euros to $100 or $150. The foundation job is very simple. We try to bring everything to the level that you can buy directly from the foundation, or at least it allows us to help those who cannot, what do you call it, support themselves to be relieved of pain. But these pain pads are not the answer to everything. They are not the answer to every pain, because you cannot use it for psychological pains.
Okay, thank you for that. Is there some more questions on the Skype call?
I see a question on the live stream.
Okay.
Steve's, and it says, how can one person develop his own self-awareness to know what is the real source of the pain? I mean, is it a long process? But I think you noticed any process that can be successful at a good ratio.
I think we ourselves, to analyze our own pain, will be very difficult because we are biased to it. That's why we are there where we are with the pain. And this takes a lot of soul searching, if you want to be. And if we would have accepted it, we would have never been there. A little bit of help from outside, as we say, brings you to see it. But the thing is, self-awareness is one point, but trying to repair the damage which is done is another point.
Right, but you have to know where that is coming from. Yes, an outside person having that look on life is definitely important. But is there a way to internally point out to yourself, or a way to open your own mind of what's actually happening inside of you? Is there any way that you can think of, or that you know of, that?
You can do it if you go back to your conscious and analyze the true level of the pain, the true reason for the pain. That's why you see a lot of people suddenly have a cancer and they don't have a cancer. It's by the food partially, or by something they take. But in fact, they analyze the point of the disease. You got to understand the psychological life. If you understand the psychology of the life, then you can solve a lot of problems. When you're happy running around doing whatever you like to do, nothing matters. This is the normal life. But when you are told you have, let's say, cancer, and people with the cancer usually start reading nowadays. What is the reason? Why did I get cancer? What's the reason of it? And then in some places they find an indication to the cancer, the reason for the cancer, and then they start soul searching. They go back, why, okay, let's say I'm a father and I have a prostate cancer. And I know most probably the reason for my prostate cancer is my children, is my son. And then I go and look, what have I done wrong with my son? Where can I find peace with it? Because now I'm dying. At least, we try to be a little bit more honest with ourselves. We start looking into what we done wrong. As we say, we start adding up to close the book, as we don't have much time left, because that's the usual feeling when they tell you cancer is a one-way traffic, you're getting to the end of the road. And then you find out some people touch the nerve, touch the point where they find out it was there. They assumed everything wrong about children or their son. And they become just to themselves, not to the son. And they create a condition that condition changes the emotions and changes the physicality. And you find out they can live with the cancer, it doesn't grow anymore, or goes frozen, or in some cases reverses. Because they understood. They did the soul searching. As I said, emotion has triggered it. And through the same emotion, they do not create that field. And you see, I've seen this quite a few times. Cancers which are not cancers, oh, I had it, but it disappeared. Or it's just changed, I ate a carrot. But you got to ask them a question. You ate a carrot, but what did you actually feel? What was the emotion in you? You have to, then you find out it's possible. Every man can reverse a cancer in their body. Or not reversing it, but accommodating the cancer to be part of life. Because cancer is evolution. At this time, our body cannot accept the evolution. So that new thing is taking a lot of energy, so this energy leads to pain, and the pain leads us to other things, and then it becomes you die of the lack of energy. But sometimes you find a reason, but you're not strong enough to accept the reason. So the next step becomes very apparent. And some people like to put people through pain because that way they confirm their strength. Why does a father hit a child? He knows he hurts, but this way he confirms to himself that I'm more powerful. I get better, so I can better too. Why women become adulterous? Why men become adulterous? I get better, so I try to justify things that we could not have, or we try to justify this is another way we can get what we think is not there for us to have. And then one leads to another and leads to another, and then you see the psychological pressures on it. There are psychopath people who go to these things, they do psychologically, and then when the same process carries on, they get different diseases. They blame everybody for what it is except why they're getting the pain and the suffering themselves. Any other question?
Mr. Kesh, you talked once about the relationship between, for example, child and mother, and when the child wants attention and the mother also has a very specific role in the family. Is it possible that, or I know I cannot make any general statements here, but is it possible that a mother wants to have so much control over, I don't know, the conduct, the life of her child, and vice versa, and the child wants attention, that, you know, in the end, the child ends with some kind of, I don't know, handicaps, disabilities, wheelchair, neurological disorders. I know there are a lot of factors involved, but you know what I'm getting at? Is it possible that too much control over somebody could, from their childhood on, could cause this?
Maybe.
Okay, thank you.
I know children who feel totally sick, they can't do anything. And we had a lady who the mother died 17 years ago, but even in the coffin she had control over the woman of 50 odd years old. That she was totally paralyzed more or less by it. It depends on the strength of the control. And those who show themselves to be tough, they, you find out that we have a say, it says, I laugh for you not to see my pains. You think I'm a happy guy. And a lot of parents, especially mothers, control full control, they put fear in the life of the children to show their control. Because then you look at it, they are so weak that they are controlled by another part, which is their own weakness. So you can make your child sick, then you have a reason to look after it. And then because you look after it, you dictate everything to do with it, because now I'm in charge. We see mothers taking children from doctors to doctors, and the doctors keep on saying there is nothing wrong with the child. Actually, they got to stop and see what's wrong with the mother. I reckon 50–60% of children going through hospitals and doctors are never sick. It's the mother who has to have a reason for the child to be sick. And the will of mother is so strong that she'll carry it through. And the child confirms every time, yes, I'm sick. Because if he doesn't confirm, he loses the love of mother. And the mother has no control. Now it becomes ping pong game between the mother and child. And these controls carries on till the child dies, because the mother has taken control from the beginning.
That clarifies a lot of things for, you know, those people I work with. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other question? Today is going to be a very small, very short session.
Yes, we're all quiet like mice today for some reason. It's very auspicious because nothing has crashed yet and nothing has gone wrong with our transmission, and it sounds clear. And that's very unusual for our Friday sessions, which are usually having...
Yeah, you see?
But
because
then there's
here for the failure, not for me.
There's one person missing. There is one person missing in today's transmission too. Maybe that has something to do with it.
Yeah, because you see, now I'll tell you she's got to take over. So you have a rest when she comes back, and then we'll see what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no problem.
What do you have a particular way of approaching the new season, let's say, with the health sector? Will there be some... we've covered the body in many details. Would you want to continue with aspects of the body in a similar way that we've presented in the first dozen workshops or so?
I think that was mainly with Dr. Elia. But so we try to finish most probably the head, the nose, and the mouth. And then we go into details into the central, what I call core, which is the stomach and intestine, and the function of the liver. And then we go to the reproduction core, which is the womb. And then we start analyzing the relationship between diseases and whatever it is from the Dr. Elia's point of view.
Yes, I see. Yes, there's still a lot to cover then, that's for sure.
I think it's about a year, 2 years if you do it, and then you have to go into diseases one by one. How diseases come and how it can be sorted and what the condition be. But don't forget, in the coming months, the foundation will release health units, and then we'll see where we go from there on.
I'm sure there'll be lots to discuss once some of that data starts coming in as well.
There is a point that we hopefully will have access to, or we should be able to, if we succeed in our way, in nuclear and biochemical diseases. Very much at the moment, a large number of diseases are due to nuclear radiation background. Now we see in Fukushima and in Northern Europe. So we start looking at those conditions most probably, because radiation and plasmatic radiation in space is a main concern in how we can protect the passengers.
And I see the news release yesterday that the Ebola vaccine produced, I believe in Canada, is not effective and is being recalled because people are getting side symptoms like joint pain, and their fingers are in a lot of pain they can't get rid of, and so on. So they had to retract the tests they were doing. That might be an opportunity for others to fill in with alternative techniques like you are advocating.
Our systems have been blocked at the moment by the World Health Organization in Sierra Leone regarding the Ebola, but the advantage with was that we received the further testing with E. coli bacteria, which now we launched the system for it for what do you call it, for use and for disinfection. We have to see who and how will dictate this position regarding the E. coli, Ebola, how they will allow it to be taken to the next step, because I think there's a lot of things going on in the background. We see it, but I presume it's normal in this kind of organizations.
I know there was, for example, doctors in Sierra Leone that wanted to treat with the nano silver treatment, and then they were accepted initially, and then they were banned from doing it, and then the U.S. was supposed to come in and offer the vaccines, but then the vaccines weren't available, and so it seems like a lot of political conflicts going on there, and
no, it's a lot of money making. There's no
right.
It's a very, very big market. It's a huge market. They are trying to control.
And when you say they, do you mean governments or corporations or a mixture of both?
Corporations, perhaps? Mainly corporations. It's mainly corporations and their investment, huh?
And there's not much happening in the way of the university level at Sierra Leone. You were showing some of the labs and so on that were in one of the videos. I think it was Sierra Leone, where things were in disarray, basically, from
they don't have
the resources. They don't have anything.
They don't have the resources, and strange enough, the resources sits nobody knows, because I went through the universities, I went through the different chemistry and biology and physics department, and as I say, I have more cups than they have in the whole of university laboratories in the house. There's nothing there. There are some scales from 1950s, if that. Electronics are not heard of in any apparatuses in the lab. There is no machinery that you can produce something. I don't think there is even what we call a standard lead machine in any of the universities. Everything is scarce, and they educate scientists, and when they are at certain level, which they are good enough, they're intelligent enough, they're sucked out into America. They all end up, large number of the Sierra Leonean scientists from the schools which are good high school, what they call university, end up in Arizona universities. So it's become, it looks like each state has picked up one country in Africa to suck the educated out of. And it's very strange. It's health position in Sierra Leone is very peculiar. When I was there, I was told by the morning that there's a dental conference in the city. Can I attend to give a talk? And I said, just They just managed to get me through to just give a half an hour talk in this seminar. There must have been about 70, 80 people in there, all very old pension dentists who gone back home to die, more or less. They wanted to retire back in Sierra Leone. You don't see young dentists. And what do you expect from so many million people with a few handful of, I think the whole country has about 200 dentists, and they're all majority, 90% of it, are all retired, coming back from Europe or America. So there is nothing left. As I said in my talks before, when they took slaves, they took the most strongest and the beautiful ones, and that they could do something with. And now they take the talented. The slavery hasn't changed. It's just changed clothing in different name. The nations are losing their talents. They're getting sucked out of them. They didn't take paraplegic, and they didn't take the broken leg one, and they didn't take the thin one and the sick one when they took the slaves. They went and took the best. And now slavery has got a different meaning in a different form. We put them on the plane and we train the educated.
Do you think that the religious figures that we saw in the last workshop would be willing to abolish that form of slavery?
We'll show the path next year, because I have a very clear idea how the foundation is going to work. And it's irrespective of me staying alive or not, or the foundation goes in one direction or not. I have set the direction, and even today when we were speaking with our colleagues in China, one of our, the team who came here, he is from Caribbeans with a lot of problem, and I explained to him on the Skype today. I'm sure he's listening to it today, now or later on to this program, that any profit we make from the sale of our units, which is a share of the Keshe Foundation, immediately to be transferred to his country, because he is participating in developing the technology for helping his nation. And he has the ability to hopefully be able to put it in the right places that the right people get benefited by it. So if you sell 10,000 units and it goes to one country that is stops the death of one single child, as I said to him, we have served our purpose. And we'll concentrate on people will respond to it. There is no way that the technology is going to go silent. And as we've seen, nobody has ever put a single piece in the mass media because there's a total ban on Keshe Foundation. But this is good. This is very good, because the root is getting stronger. The roots are very, very strong. People understand it. We see by the sale of units, we see by the interactions of the system which come in, and the CO2s which are going out. The strange thing is, for example, the CO2 kits which are sent out of here from the foundation, the governments are opening up and removing the, the plates from them. That the system arrives without the plate, which is impossible. The way we do it here, everything is, we know what it is. Even units with 4 plates, they take the plates out. Why? This is the future. We change it. We will change it by people, through the people.
We had an idea yesterday to have an adopt a CO2 kit. Basically, you could send one to Africa, like we have adopt the children in Africa and so on in North America and other countries of the world. We have, to help out the so-called third world countries. We could have an adopt a CO2 kit to basically sponsor getting a CO2 kit to someone in Africa. How does that sound like?
Yeah, but we have to educate them what it means, how to use it.
Well, part of adopting someone is you have to nurse them along and give them advice and so on. So maybe that's part of it too.
maybe we can do, at least we can correct some of what our forefathers have done wrong to them. We put it right this way. We don't need mercenaries. We don't need people to missionaries. We don't need people to go and do wrong things and the right things. Maybe it's a challenge to do this, but it's matter of teaching them how to use it to their benefit. I was talking to Sohail today, and he says they're making the improvement on the energy unit. So in the next few weeks, the energy unit will go, which will support the CO2 kit. At the moment, I think the CO2 kit will be a nice proposition for contaminated, what they call it, air pollution areas, like in China and big cities. But as I said to the Japanese yesterday, to the officials, I said you need to promote the CO2 kit to be able to clean up the country, because you can't have huge farms of these things, but people individually can collect as much as they can, that they can help their communities and the country. Once we go through this process of cleaning up with Fukushima, you have to look at about 100 million units to be sold in Japan only, because the people understand, once it's explained to them what is the purpose of the unit, to help their nation, to decontaminate nuclear radioactive materials, then you'll find out every Japanese will buy 3 or 4, because they are a proud nation. So we have to explain what it does, not just giving it away just for the sake of giving it away. The health application of the CO2 is so huge. The huge application of copper oxide nano gases are so huge.
Mr. Kesh, what would be some of the best ways to get that information out to the people that need to work with it? Like this would be to people of the public, basically, that would order a kit, let's say.
There are 2 ways to do it. One of the ways sits with international governments, and the other way is with public. If the international government decide to do it and try to bring it out, don't forget, we are not the only organization who is on this line of helping. There are millions of us, but there is an old English say, divide and rule. As long as you can get all the organizations spread and busy trying to help little by little, you can do your ruling and destroy them one by one. The change will come in the coming months. You will see it. I can see clearly where we're going to go. We have to be able not only to give the units, not only to show them how to use it, but we have to show what benefit has for the nation and humanity. That's where it's going to come. I was speaking to Sohail. He says the first batch is 3,000 coming out, or 5,000. That will not last long, matter of days. But on the other hand, what it will do, how we put in public, how the system will bring the change. The health problems are tip of iceberg for what this technology will do. You see, we created the 129 Tesla, nothing. It's just for the people who are around the foundation know about it. Few, what do you call it, total we estimate about 150, 200 million. Then we showed the landing last 3 nights ago. It's important, it's not there because as a lunatic told me one day, when it's in CNN, I believe it. And the Fox has been told not to publish anything about the Keshe Foundation. Then you go back on the applications of the technology with the capture of CO2, which is a major problem at the moment, nothing. So it's very good because now we are left on our own to serve our own, what do you call it, condition. I tell you something, I said this to the American people who have or consider themselves to have access to highest level. And they did not understand it, so I repeat it today that they will understand clearly, and it's for Bart to get them to listen to this section. Should Brad. I have told Americans that what is to come in the coming months, and somehow it has passed them. I'll explain to you what the chaos is going to be on the table if it's not understood. We know on the 5th of May, one of the most powerful American naval vessels was brought to a standstill with 2 planes. And it had to be pulled into Romanian port. Now, what is in the pipeline? What can be done? And what will be done? What happens if the Russians decide to paralyze 3, 4, 5 super tankers the same way in or out of United States? Absolute chaos. Collapse of our US economy. And I know they will not hesitate to do that. They had a fingerprint, it works. I tried to explain it a different way to our American friends, but apparently they did not get a clue. If the same process is applied to a number of tankers which bring supply into the United States, chaos and anarchy is the next step. The economy will collapse automatically. And BRIC will not have any hesitation to move into this direction. And all the indications are that it could be in that direction. And the West has no protection. All it is, you don't need to hurt a single person. The way the Russians did with the American Navy here in Europe a few months ago. If Russian leadership decides, a number of super tankers, they just become floating top of oils, as we said before, that's it. And I see that on the card, and I try to warn Americans, but somehow they don't understand it. Then we'll see how the power shift changes and a lot of normality will come into situation. If they stop the pipeline to come into Europe, that they tried. But now, if you don't sink, you just paralyze super tankers into US, God help you. It takes them 5 hours to create an anarchy. You can stop 1 or 2 or 10 super tankers off the news headlines, but then it becomes bigger and bigger. And you've seen how easy it is to be done. The game has changed drastically, and somehow they do not want to understand. We hear now in in India, people start suing Bill Gates for immunization, which has caused more diseases than anything else. And apparently Mr. Bill Gates already knew about it. False vaccination. The solution sits international all over the place. Now we've seen with what happened in Gaza and in between Palestinians and Israelis over the past few months has led the governments around the world to accept the Palestinian nation for the first time, because they saw the injustice, and now they're talking about criminal activities against Israel. Because people are becoming educated, we don't tolerate more injustices, but we do it in a different way. The warning goes, I think Brad has to get the American officers to listen to the past 5 minutes. Then they understand, faster we get on the table of talking with everybody else, the better it will be. Extract it and send it to them and let the colonel and who we know who he is to understand. There's no use putting high frequency into my ear, there is no problem. So you got to realize in the fact what the health will bring and what it will put on the table. Yes, there are very little 3, 4 small cores, but they have landed 13 kilogram very nicely. And now we set the system to go upwards. And Armand is very happy.
Armin finally gets to go up, or tries for up here, right?
We have seen the first introduction this morning with the satellite reactor, and now this afternoon, just before we come up, we've seen the link up with the upper reactor. So the changes are there. Anything else, or shall we call it a day?
Will there be more on the SSI live stream? I think it's off right now. Last time I looked, it was off.
Shouldn't be.
Let me see.
Is that SSI off? Gentlemen? Are we off?
Yeah, it seems to be down right now.
Oh, our chief engineer, Marco, is going down.
Was that cheap engineer or chief engineer?
Chief engineer.
Okay.
Nah, nothing here is cheap. We are all golden.
That's right.
We are all golden engineers. I'm trying to see where we are. Let's see. Live stream. No new live stream. Health. We are back on health. No, it's okay. There is no problem with what we do and the way we try to be in the development. But we have to understand what we do with it and how we can change it. I see Brad sitting there. Brad, you got the message. Call your guys. It's very bad to be so open, huh?
Yeah.
They put it this way, they played the game themselves, so we're just following their example.
Sometimes people associated with you are worried about security, but I think you keep things so much in the open. There's not that much that gets hidden to be worried about the security aspect, in a sense.
No, in a sense, they went out on broadcasting what they're going to do, not us. So we have nothing to hide. We're very straight up. As I always say, our openness has been the key to our success. When we had the Italian securities coming to the what do you call it, to the house, I took them to the lab and they were shocked. And they said, are they all Iranian scientists? I said, no, that one is American, that one is a Slovenian, that one is a Belgian. And they found out this secret lab is by all internationally known. So it has helped us.
Yes, and I think many people are quite thankful to you and the Keshe Foundation for that openness. And as an example, in the kids workshop last time, we had a 17-year-old say that he couldn't understand how you could offer this teaching, all these workshops for free. And he was quite amazed and happy and just delighted to discover this teaching.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think our next step in sharing not only the knowledge, but the technology will be, that's where we are now, health teaching. We got to go to the other one. It'll be a very big problem. Because up to now it was okay, they are doing this and that and whatever, and now it was the books, and then it was the teaching, And now it is very important to be able to keep a very straightforward workshop with delivering the systems to the needy, what I call. Then it shows exactly, it's not just only teaching, it's everything else to go with it. I see Brett jumping up and down. Call your boys, boy. I think people in the White House will have a sleepless night tonight, not knowing what is about to come. Armand says, sell them CO2 kits. Send them.
That's funny.
Yeah, but they need it for energy, huh? They need it for energy. Okay, is there anything else, or shall we call it a day?
Mr. Cash, I needed to call you when you get off real quick. When you're done.
Ah, okay, no problem. But are we talking to the White House or to
No,
somewhere
it
else?
has to do with the ocean cleanup.
Oh, with your... okay, no problem. It takes a lot of courage from Brad to be so open as well. But I think this is how we played and that's how it will stay. We'll see what and how things will go. Anything else, or shall we finish today?
We can call it a day if that's
Is there
okay.
any
Is there
question?
anybody else on the Skype? Or I didn't check the live stream. But it sounds like we're complete for today, I think.
Okay, we call it a day. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you in the new year. Have a nice holidays. We got one more session on Monday with our Italians. And then go to Thursday. All the best.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
President.
Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much.
Have a nice weekend. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Rick, Vince, Alex.
Thank you, Eric. Goodbye.
Goodbye. See you later.
Okay, and so ends the 14th Health Teaching Workshop. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Into, if it's possible, trying to explain and clarify some points. There is nothing new which we can add except answering questions till we see, or maybe during the answering questions we might get enlightened with other information. Is there any questions, or are there any questions that we can answer?
Yes, if I may, Mr. Kesh. This is Kevan Davani. Mr. Kesh, I told 3 of my clients and their parents, the mothers, to come online and join us on the live stream and Skype session because I told them it doesn't cost them anything to ask questions. One of the mothers called me today and started insulting me, you, all the knowledge seekers, and everybody who has to do with this science and technology. So I think a while ago I would have been upset and mad, but now I'm trying to follow your words or implement your words and bless their souls with a lot of peace and hopefully reason and understanding. There is one client of mine who has a so-called G syndrome. I'm not a medical doctor or anything. Does that say anything to you, G syndrome?
No.
Is it something neurological? I thought, okay. Mm-hmm.
Never heard of it, so I cannot make a comment on what I don't know.
All right.
Why did she insult you? That's interesting.
Yeah, she started insulting me because she did some, I don't know what kind of homework she did. She didn't research it at all. She said she sent, I sent a link, with all the diseases, with the list of diseases and everything to her. And she started insulting and said, this is totally unserious, not scientific and blah, blah. And I said, I feel like hundreds of years ago, probably would have been burned. They would have burned me on the fire if I said anything contrary to the doctrine. So that's that's the situation for now.
What was the disease you called?
G syndrome. I think it's a neurological disorder, but I'm not sure. But no problem. I wanted to ask you about another case. He sits in a wheelchair, but that you would need probably, most probably, a very precise description of the, of the disease or of the dysfunction, right? To make a sort of or give your opinion or make an assessment on how to reprocess the body, the physicality.
What do you mean in that sense?
Like if someone is in a wheelchair and it has sort of a also neurological disorder, what do you call it when the muscles also, yeah, that's the problem. I don't know the medical terms for that, but
Atrophy of the muscles?
yeah, thank you. That's it. Yeah.
You got to see these cases because
Yeah.
in some cases, what we have realized with our technology at this moment, one of the problem is once you are in a wheelchair trying to move people, it becomes very difficult because we understand the process, but strengthening the muscle tissues or the fibers is extremely difficult. We have tried different approaches in the past 4 or 5 years. There is one approach which works. I've seen people coming off the wheelchair, but I stopped the process due to other factors, which I thought it can make it much easier. But it seems our original approach in activating legs and feet, which have not moved or do not move for some time, is possible. We have achieved it, but now trying to we thought we developed in the right direction, but it seems that we have moved away from what we could achieve before, but we had to test to see if we can break into the new ground with this.
Mr. Kesh, at one point you talked about having a reactor at the head and at the feet of a person that had a problem like that, I believe, and that would sort of align the reactors of the body, you might say, like we've learned in the previous health workshops from yourself and Elia on the orientation between, for example, the brain, the lungs, the heart, and so on. Different organs form these reactor configurations. It would make sense that aligning the body between the head and the feet with maybe a greater field or a similar field would help orientate those reactors within the body. Does that make sense or no?
We still do. We used to make helmets and shoes and different body parts to activate, and it works. But we took the technology one step further to see if we can achieve it without the shoes and without the helmet. In a couple of cases we had success, but overall compared to when we use the system is not really comparable. Because it looks that you have to activate locally everything that that the system can work and be able to move legs and arms. We've seen the change with diseases like MS.
Welcome everybody to the 14th Health Teaching Workshop of the Keshe Foundation. And today we're going to do mostly a review of the previous workshop material, and questions will be answered by Mr. Keshe on things that have been brought up in the previous sessions. And we may or may not hear from Elia during the workshop, Dr. Elia Kostova, who usually is hosting. She's busy on the road right now. So let's go through to Mr. Kesh at the Spaceship Institute and see what he has to say today regarding the health sector. Mr. Kesh, are you there?
Yes, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are as usual. This is the final health workshop of 2014, and we start fresh on the third week of January 2015. What we thought Dr. Elia will not be here today because she's gone back home for the holidays, is that we answer or try to open up more in depth any subjects about the health section which anybody might have. So it's more trying to, what do you call it, bring some more information